If you could pick any superpower, what would it be? If you would pick time travel, then today's video is for you. Today's video, we're going to be unlocking the mysteries of Old Louisville. So get ready to be transported back in time as we discuss the neighborhood of Old Louisville, located right here in the heart of our city in Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome back. I'm Katie Skeen, a local realtor here in Louisville, Kentucky, and on my channel we discuss all things related to moving to and living in Louisville, Kentucky. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you 3 things you need to know about living in Old Louisville, and you're going to want to make sure to stick around till the end of the video because I think number 3 is the most interesting. So let's jump right in. The first thing you need to know about Old Louisville is that it has great historical significance to our city. Old Louisville was actually developed in the 1870s. It is an area that has 40 blocks. It's located right between downtown Louisville and University of Louisville, sandwiched right in between those things, right in the center of our city. It's well known in our city and even across the state and the nation as one of the most beautiful and pristinely preserved historic homes from the Victorian era. Old Louisville is the 3rd largest historic preservation district in the entire country. So if you spend any time in Old Louisville at all, even if you're not that interested in architecture, it's hard not to be amazed and just stand in awe of how grand and beautiful and creative the architecture is in these buildings. Now, unfortunately, over time, people in the city started to tear some of these buildings down and put different businesses in there. But back in the 1960s, the residents of Old Louisville gathered together and decided that they really wanted to try to make an effort to preserve the beauty of Old Louisville. The members of the community were able to join together and get Old Louisville rezoned as a preservation district. Now that happened back in 1974, and so that's when the restoration and preservation efforts really began. Now, these preservation efforts have been key in maintaining what we see today, where we have this beautiful blend of the past and the old, also refined and made more modern so that people can actually live in these homes today. Now, as I mentioned, Old Louisville is known for its Victorian architecture. It has ornate and unique facades. It has a lot of details and interesting, beautiful parts of its architecture. A well-known and interesting fact about Old Louisville is it actually holds the largest collection of contiguous Victorian mansions in the United States. The second thing that you need to know about Old Louisville is what amenities and things to do that it offers. I think a lot of times these first 2 things on my list, we kind of think of them as something that a tourist or a visitor would do here in Louisville, but I actually got to go down and spend some time in Old Louisville to create this video, and I loved being there as a local resident. I feel like I appreciated it and uncovered it and just it was just gorgeous. It was a beautiful day and I really enjoyed being there. So the first thing that you can do in Old Louisville is actually take a walking tour. This can be a self-guided walking tour, which is what I did today, or there are also guided walking tour experiences that are out there. So if you're interested in more information about that, I would suggest you stop by the Visitor Center at Central Park. They can get you pointed in the right direction of taking one of those self-guided tours. But I really enjoyed my afternoon walking around Old Louisville, and I never thought I would really be able to say that. The other kind of walking tour that there is kind of a unique, kind of funny kind of walking tour, but it is the haunted ghost walking tour. Old Louisville has actually been called America's most haunted neighborhood, so I think it's just part of the history, you know, the old churches, the old homes, the alleyways, all of these different things. So if you're interested in ghosts and haunted and that sort of a vibe, then you might consider going on the ghost walking tour. The third thing that you can do in Old Louisville is take a visit to Central Park. Central Park has 16 acres of land right there in the middle of Old Louisville. It has beautiful green space, it has playground for kids, it has walking paths, tennis courts, and then of course the visitor center and the large amphitheater. So in the summertime, and I think into the fall too, you can actually see Shakespeare in the park. Sometimes they hold concerts there. So it's a gathering place for the residents. It's a place to be and enjoy, you know, kids playing on the playground, enjoy music and acting. It's a really beautiful beautiful park located right in the center of our city. Also back in 1989, it was formed to be part of the Olmsted Conservancy efforts here in Louisville, Kentucky. And that effort is just to preserve and make our parks here in Louisville a beautiful place to be, safe and well maintained. So if you've watched any of my videos before, you know I love to give restaurant recommendations. So I can't make a video about Old Louisville without telling you about some of my favorite restaurants in Old Louisville. The first one is called Buck's. Buck's is going to be a special occasion kind of a place. It's located in the historic Mayflower building, so it's a neat building and experience to even be there. It's actually been a long time since I've gone to dinner there, but when I did, I had some of the best oysters Rockefeller as an appetizer. So hopefully they still have that and you can check that out. The second restaurant I want to point out to you in Old Louisville is 610 Magnolia. It's located at 610 Magnolia Avenue. Very creative title there. This is a famous restaurant because it has a famous chef. Edward Lee is the chef of 610 Magnolia, where they serve Southern inspired food. It's kind of a twist on your traditional Southern food. Edward Lee is famous because he's been on several different TV shows, Chopped, Top Chef, The Mind of a Chef, just to name a few. So he is a celebrity chef located right here in Louisville, Kentucky, in Old Louisville. I've actually never been to 610 Magnolia, but when I was there today driving around, I thought, man, I really need to get this on my list. So hopefully real soon, my husband and I will be able to try that out. If you've ever been to 610 Magnolia, why don't you just throw me a comment down below and tell me what you thought was good to eat there. The last spot I want to point out to you is North Lime Coffee and Donuts. Now, who doesn't love coffee and donuts? I've taken my kids here before. It's a fun building. They have the classic donuts, but they always have an interesting twist on their flavors. And then of course they have coffee. So if you're looking for a quick snack or a breakfast spot to pick something up, I would definitely recommend you check that out in Old Louisville. The third thing you need to know about Old Louisville is that they have walking courts. I actually had one of my subscribers comment on one of my other videos and ask this question about walking courts. What is a walking court? Old Louisville actually has the largest collection of pedestrian-only walking courts. I think there are 11 of them located there. You can't access them by car. You actually have to walk down them. So the way that these work is it's a row of houses that have a shared common green space in the middle. The parking can be in the alleyway behind, or sometimes you even have to park on streets that kind of border this walking court. I think originally the idea was to have community and to foster a sense of belonging within your community and friendships among neighbors. These walking courts began in 1891 and were developed all the way up until the 1920s. The courts are centered around these grassy areas that are beautifully landscaped. They have gas lanterns. It really honestly is magical to walk down the walking courts. I can only imagine that these lush gardens provide a sense of peace for their residents as they're located right in the middle of the city with all of the bustling aspects of the city around you. But when you're in that walking court, it just feels like a sigh of relief, like you can take a deep breath, like all is well with the world. Now, if you're considering a move to Old Louisville, obviously there's some practical considerations about the walking courts that are going to be a little bit difficult. Parking is one of them, but it is interesting to know that a lot of these properties actually have a designated and deeded parking spot that gets sold with the home. So reach out if you're considering moving to Old Louisville, and I'd be happy to give you more details and fill you in on kind of how the parking situation works on the walking courts. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video about the 3 things you need to know about living in Old Louisville. Hopefully you feel that you've been transported back in time. Now do me a favor, if you found any value in this video at all, please hit the like button and subscribe so that you'll know when I have future videos coming up. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.